I am an incredibly nostalgic person, and I've got toys. I've got a massive VHS collection in my apartment of shows I watched as a kid, and I don't know. Like I'll pull out a videotape, and it brings me somewhere. Even just like looking at the cover evokes something in my brain or my heart that I'm like taken back to being a 9-year-old kid, and that feeling of happiness or freedom, whatever it is, whatever that notion was that did something for me as a kid. Like I'm just constantly trying to recapture that. And one thing I will say that I love about the fact that Mark is in the movie is that he himself represents nostalgia to some degree, or fandom.
Right. Yeah,
you know
sure,
what I mean?
yeah.
And so I think like it adds a really cool layer to the flick, because it has to do with so much of that.
Well, part of it is holding on to the things that made you happy as a child, and you can immediately go back to a time that was much simpler without so many problems in your life. And I have a strong sense of nostalgia for those sorts of things, and even things that were around before my time. I love all the Hal Roach studios, Laurel and Hardy and Our Gang and so forth. This movie, I think, uses those elements in a way that I've never seen before. I certainly have never read anything like it, and that's so hard these days to say that it's unlike anything else. More and more, I mean, just because of the nature of the business, they want to take other successes and do variations on a theme, and I've never seen anything like this before, ever. I love movies where you don't know where it's going. You know, a lot of times you see the first 10 minutes, you go, okay, he's going to marry her, that guy's going to die, whatever it is. This one keeps you on, on the edge of your seat in terms of where it's all going until the very end. No small task. I read it and said, I want to play Greg Kinnear's part. He's funny. He's a cop that wants to be an actor. And I didn't want to take the responsibility of doing
I remember the
trepidation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we knew the part is a difficult part to cast, and we knew we wanted somebody that you wouldn't necessarily like immediately think of. We also needed somebody who had voice acting talent. That was another element that made the part difficult to find that person. And I'm a Star Wars fan, and I'm a fan of Mark's. But what I love about this movie and about seeing him in it is that like you get to see him do things you don't normally get to see him do, and he's such a fine dramatic actor, and it was just fun for me to share the screen with him. But yeah, I think it's rad that the guy from Star Wars is in our movie.
I don't mind playing characters that are even hated, but it wasn't so simple. I mean, like I say, there's so much going on here. What those two characters did is like every parent's nightmare. So it's so heinous that I thought, wow. The fact that they attempt to even make him understandable and even sympathetic is no small task, because if I intellectually I would despise someone who did what he did. But that's just one remarkable thing about this film. It's constantly surprising you. I should mention Jane Addams playing my wife. I've loved her since Frasier, and she's great on Hung and Little Children. Wonderful actress, and so inventive, and spontaneous. I discovered so much about the characters just doing the dinner scene. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of backstory you can't describe in the movie. It's not important to the viewer what our backstory is, but it is to us. And she was just wonderful. I was so lucky to be able to work with her.